Welcome back, comrades. Welcome back, comrades. This is Gaming with Austin. And today, we are on episode 123 of Season 2 of the Utopian Community series. What we're going to do, try to do this episode, we're going to try to finish up the floor I'm currently working on. Sadly, I couldn't do much last episode because of capsaicin cramps. See, this is what happens when you eat spicy food. Too much. That's what happens when you take your addiction to spicy food too far. Those cramps makes it a pain in the butt to try to exercise. Thankfully, I was able to exercise again today, which is something to be proud about. My cramps were so bad I couldn't do my push-ups. Thankfully, they've dissipated. If I had hypersensitivity to insulin, my body was producing more insulin than usual, ironically there. Back in the early days, if you had type 1 diabetes, you're fucked. But if you had type 2 diabetes, you had to have your food locked up, similar to the ways of treating Prader-Willi syndrome. Prader-Willi syndrome. Usually patients with PWS, if left to their own devices, they'd eat a lot more than some of the most overweight people on Earth. So their caregivers must lock up their food as a means of keeping them alive. You know, with obesity, it is possible to be obese and healthy at the same time. To prove that metabolically healthy obesity is possible, look at the sumo wrestlers. Look at the sumo wrestlers. It ain't a myth. It's a fact. Some people believe it's pseudoscience, but really, it's not. Look at the sumo wrestlers. They may be overweight or obese, but on the inside, they have very little visceral fat. That they have very little visceral fat. Obesity itself does not cause medical conditions like that. depending on the type of obesity. If you have a type of obesity in which you have a lot of subcutaneous fat, yet almost no visceral fat whatsoever, then you should be good. Overweight people have their advantages too, because they have an energy store in case of a famine. If you eat nothing but junk food on a calorie-restrictive diet, you're going to become underweight. And if you're eating the same amount of calories as everyone else, yet you're still eating junk food while still eating the same amount of calories, you're going to end up becoming underweight. Because of malnutrition. It is possible to lose weight on a high-carb diet. You may think a keto diet is a carnivore diet. You're partially correct. But there are some vegan keto diets out there too. It's possible to be on a keto diet while being vegan at the same time. What that means is keto diet is about increasing your fat intake while still keeping your protein intake adequate, while having a low net carb intake. You need plenty of fiber in your diet. Fiber is a special type of sugar that helps you poop. You need plenty of fiber. And fat shaming only makes the problem of obesity worse for the person who is being fat shamed. Living and dying, laughing and crying. In the video that centers around the evolution of Dave Mustaine, the first songs that play in the video are Metallica songs. Because believe it or not, Dave Mustaine was actually a member of Metallica before he got fired for drug abuse. And after he got fired, he formed Megadeth. Before Gary Holt joined Slayer, Jeff Hanneman was one of the guitarists for Slayer before he died. When he died from cirrhosis, Gary Holt took his spot, which meant that Slayer had a change in sound. Sound more like Exodus. Which is why you'll sometimes see Gary Holt, wear an Exodus wristband in some of the Slayer videos. Like Repentless. Or You Against You. Slayer symbol kind of resembles that of a pentagram, which is why Christians sometimes falsely accuse Slayer of being satanic. The irony is that the lead singer is Roman Catholic himself.
Will you God is true? Cause will you roll the dice?
That is guttural singing. Associated with death metal.
I hurt your back, but it's no use. False accusations are hard to lose.
The vocals of Slayer are pretty harsh, but they're the harshest of the big four. But with Anthrax, their vocal harshness is like that of old school Metallica. Say your prayers going back to the early days. For whom the bell tolls. And Sabaton's known for its... The vocals are kind of creaky for power metal, but that's okay. The vocals of power metal tend to be pretty diverse. I listen to a lot of heavy metal. Have to admit that.
Time marches on! For whom the bell tolls!
The song For Whom the Bell Tolls was featured in Zombieland. If you increase your caloric intake gradually while doing calisthenics, your muscle strength will grow. If you do it gradually. Or else you're going to face a risk of refeeding syndrome. My goal is to try to become the vegan Brian Shaw. And eventually, I'd have enough muscle mass to start tossing beer kegs. And eventually, I'd be able to toss a beer keg weighing about 200 pounds, which is currently more than me. Eventually, I'd start going towards weighing like 250 pounds in muscle mass. You shouldn't always believe what the internet... You shouldn't believe everything you see on the internet. Because remember that girl who drank a liter of soy sauce for a so-called colon cleanse? She believed soy sauce could clean your colon. That can actually make you really sick. Yes, the guy named... whose... username is Chubby Emu is right. Don't consume too much sodium, kids. Don't consume too little either. Consume the right amount. If you stay on a low sodium diet for too long, you're going to suffer something called hyponatremia. An isonatremic diet means you consume the right amount of sodium, meaning avoid a low sodium diet at all costs. Because that low sodium diet you put yourself on can actually kill you. Because if you go on a low sodium diet, your cells are going to swell up like a water balloon. You do not want that. Most of us will develop atherosclerosis. Even if you're on a perfectly healthy diet. The low sodium diet, I'd call that a fad diet. That is not very healthy. Because if you stay on a low sodium diet your whole life, that diet can actually kill you from sodium deficiency. Your body needs sodium. But a high sodium diet for a long period of time can turn people from healthy to becoming severely underweight. Believe it or not. You know, it's not possible for life to survive without any source of nutrients. Because if it was possible, it would violate the second, or maybe, no, probably the third law of thermodynamics. When I grow up, I might think about becoming a strong man. Like Brian Shaw. The guy that likes to toss beer kegs pretty high. He tosses them so high that his neighbors notice it. You know, anabolic steroids can cause infertility. when it goes to the obesity epidemic, it's not entirely the parents' fault that they're allowing their children to be overweight. Sometimes a child cannot even help it because they have hormonal problems, cause them to become overweight. Whether it be in the hypothalamus or in their thyroid. If you have a thyroid problem causing you to become overweight, it'll affect your metabolism but not your appetite. People on the internet kind of compare Russell to Kim Jong-un. If we want to fight the obesity epidemic, you gotta go into supporting the fat acceptance movement. Fat shaming never works. Because some of the people that are overweight cannot even help it, no matter how much exercise they get. Because some of those overweight people have Prader-Willi syndrome. Or thyroid issues. Some of those overweight kids in school have thyroid issues. Some of them just cannot help it. The insatiable appetite is not the only problem that causes people with Prader-Willi syndrome to become overweight. Their metabolisms are a bit slower because of hypotonia, meaning poor muscle tone. You shouldn't when it goes to the obesity epidemic, you shouldn't entirely blame it on the parents. You should not blame it entirely on the parents. Nor should you blame it on the overweight child. Because sometimes it was neither the parent nor the child that made the choice to become overweight. Sometimes there are certain medical conditions in which obesity is a sign of it. Whether it be hypothyroidism, meaning low thyroid function, which will cause people to become overweight regardless of their appetite. alarm timer went off after this. This should be it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you like this video. If you don't like this video, smash that dislike button. If you love my content, subscribe to my channel. And click on the bell icon if you want to be up to date for more content like this. As always, thank you for watching, stay tuned for more, and peace out.